You're used to it. Yeah, I'm ready.
Sure. Coach, what kind of, when you look back at just, the offenses, maybe I know there were a lot red zone trips as well, but it just didn't seem as consistent through 4 quarters as maybe you guys have been. What stood out watching the film about maybe some of the things aside from near the goal line that prevented the offense from having a day like you guys have had in the past?
Yeah, I think that you can't, besides the goal line trips, because those are the ones we really needed. We had the opportunities to score and win the game. But the other things were the negative plays, the penalty, getting us, more times behind the chains than you want to be. And it's hard to get back to 2nd and 14. And I think we had a 3rd and 17. We actually even converted a first down when we had a 3rd and extra long and then went for it on 4th. But we were just in way too many negative situations behind the chains, and that's not what we normally have done offensively. But Taylen can't take a sack one time, really hurt us. He's got to be able to throw the ball away. So that really caught up to us.
Looking ahead to Texas, their defense has been consistent throughout most of the year. Obviously, a little blip last week against Georgia. What kind of, when you look at their units, secondary, defensive line, linebacker, what makes them such a good defense?
Yeah, they got those 2 edge players that are really good. The linebacker that's a special player, number 0, played against us last year. He knows the game. They got one of the best corners in the country. So they got really good players. They're well coached. They do a lot of different things, and they, mix it up on you. So looking back at last year, we did some really good things against them, and at times, and then they got to our quarterback. We're going to have to protect the quarterback.
You mentioned imparting on the players the importance of playing Texas to the fan base and everything. Has that started with you, and what kind of
Yeah, we talked about it last night, and in the team meeting, obviously. But we're going to do some things to make sure they understand it, because it's always been a big deal. I remember the first time I was here, it was always a big deal about the Arkansas-Texas rivalry and the big games. So we're going to try to put a few things together for them, make sure they understand it, and know how important it is to the state of Arkansas.
Have you been to Texas aside from that one year? I guess that would have been 2008. You been there?
First year I was here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. It's bad memory.
I remember Joe Adams said something like, "Coach, it was like they were mad at us."
I don't know. I remember looking up at the scoreboard and towards the end of the first quarter and going, 28 times 4 is what? Because it was bad. They just really got it. They had a really good quarterback who had a phenomenal year that year. And against us, he just hit everything. So.
Well, y'all were just getting started that year. But,
yeah, but I remember it. Thanks. Appreciate it. I won't sleep all week.
Steve Sarkisian's been lauded as a really good offensive coordinator, obviously a head coach. But what about him that you see makes him a good coordinator?
Yeah, I've been following him for a long, long time. When he was offensive coordinator at USC for Pete Carroll, then he went to Washington as the head coach. And seems like everybody that, or not everybody, but a lot of people that I know either worked with him or worked for him. So he's been one of those guys that you always look and see what they're doing. And, he's a phenomenal offensive coordinator, obviously. Really, really good screen team guy. He's always been great with the screen, so we're going to have to be on top of the screen game and make sure we don't give up big plays on screens. And then he'll try to get you with some shots down the field off of bubble plays or fake receiver screens. So we got to make sure that we're disciplined with our eyes and don't let them hit the big plays off of their screen game.
Action for J.J. Shelton since week 2. How do you think he did?
Yeah, he got welcome to SEC football. He's a little sore yesterday, a little bit beat up. But I thought they did a pretty good job of putting that package together and working the package that we had to get more speed on the field. And he competed extremely hard, made some good plays. I think he is really sore, though. It's his first SEC game.
This late in the season, 2 games left. I mean, how do you go about fixing turnovers? Is there a change to the weekly plan?
Yeah, I mean, you have to take care of the ball. We had situations where, we blew one play, work that play all the time. Mike does it all. He's done it all year long. And somehow he thought he was taking a handoff, and it's a flip. It's not a handoff. And then, the one that's really disappointing to me on Talon is the naked. When you come out and the tight end's number 1 in the progression and he's wide open and we didn't throw him the ball. I'm not sure why. That's something that cannot happen,
I'm sorry.
About that play?
Yeah, we talked to him about everything. So
A couple of injuries. Charlie Collins, but Braylon Russell didn't play. Status of both. Expectation for
Charlie,
Texas.
I think, is going to be good this week. He worked really, really hard last week to get ready to play. Went out and got some practice in. We took him on the trip thinking that he would be ready, and he wasn't. So he should be good to go. Braylon's was weird. He ran into our fullback, and then he was out for the game with the concussion protocol.
Does that mean he's out this week too, or?
I don't know.
Oh.
We have to see how that goes. It just happened like in a non-contact drill, and he ran in and hit his own guy, and we'll just see how he comes back from it.
Listening to Caleb and Mike Washington on Saturday after you, just saying all the right things about staying together and trying and being positive. Has it gotten harder as this has gone along, or do you just kind of see a consistent approach from the message you want to send?
It feels like it's harder. I think it feels like it's harder because you're so disappointed after the game and after the loss. And I told the guys last night how proud I am of them by their attitude and being good teammates and sticking together. And there's no reason to stop now. We might as well continue what we're doing and continue competing hard. And it's kind of a really weird anomaly, I guess you would say, that we do this deal where offensive, defensive team wins. 4 of those games should have been wins from that sheet, and then they're not, but that's an outlier. Every one of them's an outlier. So it's like, what the heck? So I don't know. We just keep battling away.
This Sark offense with Arch Manning, he was getting a lot of criticism early in the year, but it seems like he's kind of working his way back into more production. What do you think of Arch in this offense?
Yeah, I mean, he's a really good, talented player. A lot of times, as a quarterback, I always tell our guys it's an occupational hazard. When things aren't going as well as they should do, you're going to take more blame than you probably should take. A lot of times when you execute well and you play well at quarterback, it's because all 10 other guys out on the field are doing a great job and doing their job. So it's a hard position to play. You're certainly going to be the one that takes the criticism. You have to have big shoulders and understand I chose to play this position, and that goes with it.
Aside from your one game here in 2008 down there against them, you obviously studied up on the history too to get ready to tell the players. What kind of stands out to you about Arkansas, Texas?
I mean, just the big games, and the scoring, and I guess what stands out more to me than anything is when I was here and I used to have a fantasy camp, and the guys that would come there and tell the stories about the games, and not just the win but the loss, and how they weren't over it yet, so you knew that it was huge when they weren't over that loss yet.
Had a good game for you on Saturday, and he's got that long streak of receptions going back a long time. He's a guy you've known for a long time. How do you feel like his season has gone, and is it kind of what you expected from him when you brought him in here?
Yeah, I thought he's had a really, really good season. He came in spring ball, and he did a great job of helping everybody else in that room learn the offense and was outstanding. And then he got injured in camp, and he didn't even start the first game of the year. But then he ended up keep getting going and starting, and he's really smart. He's extremely quick, changes directions real well. And he's done a nice job of running after the catch. The play he made on that long third down to get extra yards after the catch is what allowed us to go for it on 4th down. So I think he's played really well for us, and he's a really good kid to be around. He's very, very mature and has had his life in line, knew what he was going to do like 5 years ago. He's pretty amazing.
And it seems like C.J. Brown hasn't showed up as much the last 2 games, at least from a stat perspective. Is there something he needs to do better these last 2 games, or what are you seeing from him over the last few weeks?
Yeah, we've been working hard on getting him to, do everything exactly right and full speed. And, he's been a little bit inconsistent. I thought he made a really nice catch the other day across the middle, which would have gave us – it was on the drive that we went down and missed the field goal. But he's very, very capable. We've got to give him more opportunities, and he's got to, get open more, do a better job of getting open.
Coach, got another wide receiver question for you. Omega Blake, his production in the last 2 weeks has kind of dropped off. What are you seeing out of him the last couple of games?
The same thing, not getting as open as he was and not being able – we're calling his number, and we're not getting the production that we need, and we need that production. That has been a big part of our offense all year.
And we asked you about Shelton. Pringle was also got a lot of action. Courtney Crutchfield, a lot of young guys. Was that by design, or was it maybe just more set up by like the injuries? Cam Settles was another one. Was that by design, or was it kind of a something that just kind of happened?
Yeah, I think it's something that Courtney earned in practicing, and he's shown it like for the last 3 weeks. And I made a decision to make sure that you rotate him in and give him reps. And he came up with a really nice catch, big play for us. But he's been practicing really well, no question about it. Pringle, we had a young man get sick and not be able to play, and I thought he stepped in there and competed hard. And he's been practicing better too, and doing a good job. Cam's been playing really well all year long on special teams, doing a really nice job for us, and really unselfish young guy, had the opportunity to continue to play on special teams and turn the red shirt away. And he's going to be a really good football player. What he possesses is the ability to protect the quarterback, and that gets you on the field a lot more. But I'd like to see him carry the ball more.
And then one more young guy. I'm wondering about KJ Jackson. Is he a guy you might want to try to get some looks at the last couple of weeks, or is it still kind of Taylor's show?
Yeah, you do think about it and talk about it and do that, but I think we're just going to see how practice plays out and, play whoever we feel has the best chance to let us win.
On the other side of the ball, Texas, Pete Kwiatkowski and his defense, just maybe your thoughts on his job as a unit this year.
Yeah, I got a lot of respect for Pete. He's been doing it for a long, long time. I think he goes back to Boise State, and when I remember that. He's a really good defensive coordinator, has a great package, does a nice job mixing it up on you. We've got to be on top of it. We've got to do a good job of communicating up front.
And then, Taylor and the interceptions, even though he's thrown more this year, do you still feel like, he's had certain areas of progression from last year, even though that some of the interception numbers may not have gone down?
Yeah, there's no question that he's had progression from a year ago. He's got to get rid of the interceptions, the unforced ones, which I felt both of them were unforced the other day. And, you're going to throw interceptions at a quarterback at times, but those two should not have been.
Bobby, you've been really effusive with, all the buy-in you've gotten from your players and what's at times been a difficult situation. You haven't really had a chance to reflect on, at least publicly, on what it's meant to you for some of the comments these kids have made and in support of you and how hard they're competing. Do you have a thought on that?
It's a hard situation to jump into and have to take over like that. My first thing is to say that they need to make a new law that you can't do that in the middle of the year. That would be a great thing for everybody, Probably not going to happen, especially now that there'll be 9 conference games. Can you imagine that now? 9 conference games in this conference, and they're going to have to keep building a pot to pay off guys. That's going to be incredible. So I feel like, boy, this has been a hard experience. But then when I look at it on the other side, I feel like, this has been pretty cool. I get to really get to know the defensive players, get to relax a little bit, make sure they get to know me. I think it's been, all about trying to get them to continue to improve themselves, continue to put a better resume on video. And they've really bought into the fact that they believe they watch themselves, they believe themselves being better and playing better and giving them better opportunity for whatever the future brings. I think they've bought into that, and that's been pretty cool.
Another question on the Texas rivalry. This is a newer generation where even like their parents, if they have ties to the state, maybe don't even remember seeing that game played, and the transfer portal aspect, or maybe kids from Texas being overlooked coming to Arkansas. There's not as much of that anymore. Is it any harder to put over the rivalry to your players now than maybe it would have been years ago?
Yeah, I think so. It certainly is a new era, college football. When you do look at it, though, you look at our enrollment. We went up how much since I was here? And most of that's due to the in-state tuition for Texas kids. So there's probably more people going to school here from the state of Texas than ever at any point. But with the transfer portal and with the guys moving from school to school, you certainly don't have that old taste of growing up. I shouldn't use the word hate, but disliking another program as much as it used to be. So that does make it a little bit different. We're going to try to rev it up, though, and make them dislike them more.
J.J. Shelton, if I remember correctly, in the fall, he did most of his reps at safety or hog, but was playing linebacker. I know it was a pass coverage situation. But do you think that debate about maybe what his future position is still up, or is he more settled in at linebacker maybe moving forward?
No, he's not a linebacker. That's a dime package. So he's in there playing that spot in just that dime package where you take a hog, which used to be called nickel. Now everyone wants to call him their nickname. But it used to be a nickelback, Some people called it a star. I think that's when it was a bigger guy. We at one time called it, what did we call it? Cinco. Cinco was for the greatest player that ever lived, Jericho Nelson. Man, did he know how to play Cinco. But yeah, that's his position more than a linebacker.
Do you remember who some of those players were at your fantasy camps that kind of spoke specifically about not, forgetting the losses as much as the wins?
I do remember who they are, but I'm not going to bring them up. I still like those guys a lot. So they're still hurting, and I understand it.
Did the tape show whether or not Wooden or Simmons got that punt block, both of them,
Yeah, it looked like Wyatt got it, and then Wooten picked it up and scored. But they were both there, so it's hard to tell if it hit both their arms or didn't.
You referenced Malik Muhammad, the Texas corner. So last week, Monsieur Delane came in with some hype, but y'all kind of went on him, and he made a bunch of plays. I mean, do y'all take that into consideration? Do we want to attack this guy or not attack a guy?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you have to understand who's where and how good they are. No question.
Coach, appreciate you.
All right, thanks, guys.